tinfoil hat. Trust the science, bro. All right, well, what about my eyeballs? What about what I'm looking at?
I can go to the moon in a nanosecond. The problem is we don't have the technology to do that anymore.
You can tell it's real because it looks so fake.
Space Force.
We still have comedy, though. We still have great comedy out there. There's always Ramblin' Joe Biden.
Come on. This guy is a dog whistle about as big as a foghorn.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
Oh boy! Say, do you want to go inside my clubhouse? I charge $50 for a hot dog.
Well, you know, the aliens could be showing up any day now.
Dude, this guy's an alien.
What up, Mother Earth?
NBC News has learned that disgraced financier Jeffrey Epstein is dead.
You won't release the Epstein list, so you're gonna freaking imprison Andrew Tate?
You're living in the Matrix, man.
There is no spoon.
Here's the one.
I represent science.
You will own nothing, and you will be happy.
Hack human beings to go under the skin.
See if allergies. Good.
I like turtles.
I wanted to tell you when we were in high school, or maybe, yeah, it was high school. You and not you, but like people would like elect me to be the president. Do you remember that? There, you guys be like, yeah, we vote for Andrew. Like for the voting, you know, you put your head down and you raise your hand.
For like, what was it for? For like class or Stuco or like what was it?
It was, I believe it was for class. It was like the president.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
And then, and then like, and then you guys would like, then I wouldn't win, you know, whoever would win. I'd be like, dang, because part of me low key was like, will I win? And then, and then you guys would just nominate me for everything, and I would lose every time. So I've had I've had this like low key insecurity my whole life. Like, I don't think I'll ever win a vote or anything like that. And I'm a delegate for our union. I got pushed into this. I was running as a delegate to go to the UA National in Napa Valley, and it's like I'll meet Gavin Newsom, I'll meet all these people and represent Orange County. And I got nominated, and I was like, interesting. You know, I was like, I ain't gonna win this vote. You know what I'm saying?
Who raised their hand?
Yeah. And so I had to like make phone calls for the last month. And just kind of just say to the guys, yo, I'm running as a delegate. Would you vote for me? Stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we had the vote last night, and I ended up winning, dude. I'm going.
Dude, that's awesome.
I'm going to Napa Valley, dog. The streak is broken.
That's
man.
awesome.
I was like, finally, I could like literally put that behind me.
Dude,
I finally won an election.
Now that you say that, I'm like, man, if I was one of the idiots that was doing that, I was like, I feel like I put trauma on your life for
it wasn't an idiot move.
Years.
It wasn't an idiot move. If anything, I always thought it was funny. I was like, yeah, but I ain't gonna win. But then I was like, wait, why didn't I win? You know?
Yeah. Okay, but things are serious now. Like, why am I not winning? Like,
I was like, wait a second, I haven't won.
I was just probably thinking
in 4 years.
See, I was probably just thinking like, I know I'm not going to win, so I'm going to take the pain and put it on somebody else. So that's probably why.
Nah, we were all class clowns. Like, I always think about Mrs. Friend. I think that's her name. Is that her name?
Oh my goodness! Yeah.
Was that the
math teacher? Oh man. Yeah.
We won't even get into that story, but I felt bad for her. But
yeah,
I mean, I think it was all, most of the stuff we did in high school was all just like it was all it wasn't like we weren't beating each other up, we weren't doing anything stupid, we were just playing silly games. And
I was just talking about that with my wife, with Wendy, actually when we were eating dinner tonight. I can't. Oh, because she's in the school systems all the time. She's like a vision specialist now, so she goes around to different schools in the district here. So she sees like all the schools, and has a good feel for like each one's got its own culture. But the one that's like a block away, Central, tends to be a little rougher. anyway, she was just talking about that. But then that got me thinking. I was like, man, I was like, we did a lot of stupid stuff, but I don't even feel like I don't feel like we were ever like malicious or like trying to be mean. It was just like, man, how do we do something stupid that's funny? And
Exactly.
you most of the time it was funny. Like, I mean, I remember how many times like Mrs. Chad was laughing as she was trying to like chew us out. She's laughing and like, yeah, that was pretty funny. Stupid but funny.
Yeah, I think the reason, I mean, the teachers would laugh and like kind of just like laugh about it is because we were probably just disrupting what they were trying to teach, but whatever we were doing was funny, but they had to stay on
Yeah.
schedule.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then yeah, dude. But Miss Friend, I don't know where you are in the universe, but I hope you're doing great.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I'm sorry, Miss Friend.
She's
I don't know if we were mean, but we definitely
she
were not helpful.
she was just a sweet soul, and then she came across us on her bunch. I don't know. She was all right. She was cool, but
I
um
don't know.
I don't know either, dude. But so the first time I met you, bro, I remember it was in sixth
Yep.
grade. First of all, anybody listening, this is like my best friend from childhood. I met him
Yes.
when I was in sixth grade. Uh, dude's dude's been me and him went through high school together. Everybody has that friend from junior high to high school that they just linked up with and were just tight. And this is mine. His name is Jeremiah Williams. Sorry, I forgot to do an introduction for you, but
Oh yeah,
anyways.
please no, I prefer it that way, not to introduce,
Yeah,
but
I
keep
know.
going.
But I remember the first time I met you, you came from Salem, Ohio, right?
Yep, yep, that's where we last
And
lived,
you
yeah.
came to Haviland, Kansas, town of 800 people. And
Yeah. And it was
so,
like a progression because we were in Cleveland and
okay,
then we went to Salem, which we thought was podunk. And Salem was probably like, I don't know, 20,000 people maybe. And we were like, oh my gosh, we live in this little podunk town. And then we came to Haviland and I didn't know something like that existed, but sorry, keep going.
you thought you landed
Yeah.
in some Amish community, I bet. But
It was, yeah.
but so I was wearing some shoes, and I remember the first day I met you, I was wearing these questions, which is the LeBron James, or no, not LeBron James,
No,
Allen
Iverson.
Iverson, yeah, some
Yeah.
Iverson questions, some baby blue North Carolina looking shoes,
Mhm.
and like you came up to me. I think the first thing you said to me was, "Hey, nice questions, dude," and I was like, "What?" Like I had no idea. Like
No, it was
the
even I was like, Iverson's nice. And you were like, who? I was like, oh gosh. I was like, I'm in the wrong place,
That's
man.
yeah, dude. That's how redneck.
Yeah.
I wasn't cultured at all. Like I was. I just played in the shelter belt like ever when I was a kid, and then like just played baseball in the summer. Would go to Walmart and Pratt and go to Lawrence to see my family in South Dakota. I didn't know anything about the
Yeah.
world. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
when you said that, like I never watched the NBA. I never sat down and
Yeah.
watched it, and like I just thought they were cool shoes, so I ordered them
Yeah.
on
That was
you remember
probably like East Bay or something, man,
East
back in the
Bay.
day.
Yes,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Like I couldn't get any shoe I wanted. Like I always got my brother's hand-me-downs. So I'd always see my
Yeah.
brother get some Nikes or something for basketball, and I'd be like, actually no, I'm wrong. It was his clothes that I get the hand-me-downs, but my dad would always be like, I'll get you some basketball shoes. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like so that
yeah.
was like
Yeah.
what I got. And so I
Yeah.
went through and I looked up and I saw these baby blue uh shoes and I got those and I guess they were sick.
They were
Um
sweet, man.
yeah, dude, the questions.
Yeah.
You taught me how to skateboard too. Like I was saying, like I didn't have any culture to me, and you came in with all this Ohio culture. Like,
Yeah. We had moved around a decent well, I mean, like I was born in Denver and then we moved to Ohio, but I was young. And then but we lived in Cleveland and we like moved twice in Cleveland. We moved to different houses, so different neighborhoods, and then moved to Salem and then to Haviland. So like not that like I'd seen the world, but I just had some different life experiences up to that point, you know. But and it wasn't like I mean, you're like, you know, you're like I wasn't you're saying like you hadn't seen culture, but you just had seen a very specific culture, you know, like and
yeah,
so ironically, like to me, it was fascinating because that was a culture I had not experienced at like to that extreme, the culture of Haviland. And like, and I mean, we can get into all this, but I will say like it in recent days for a number of reasons. Like I've looked back on those years of us moving to Haviland, and I'm like, man, they were super timely. Like just in like in my life, in a life like of my siblings and whatnot, just kind of where we were and what paths we were on. And going to Haviland was like, honestly, like not to get too deep right off the bat, but it was super transformative. I think as I'm 35, I've got an 11-year-old and a 4-year-old of my own, trying to weigh like how do you raise a child in the world? You know what I'm saying?
Oh
And
yeah.
thinking like, man, we got put kind of like in this like dropped in the desert for like the rest of my childhood, and it was like the best thing I think that could have happened for us at that time. Just like yeah, so anyway, this all comes up because I've been thinking about it a lot lately. But yeah, so all that to say is like showing up in Haviland and being like, oh man, like skateboarding and being like, this guy's never skateboarded. He likes to like, let's skateboard, let's do this, or let's, like it was a blast. It was a blast. And like you guys would just be out like all the time. And I'd be like, don't you have to tell your mom like where you are? And you're like, ah, she knows. And I'm like, what? I feel like nobody checks in, like no. And like when we lived in Cleveland, especially, like we were out and about a lot, but like we weren't like we were in an okay neighborhood, but there was still stuff. I mean, you'd hear like gunshots every once in a while, and there was just like you didn't just go out without your parents knowing exactly where you were because there's just more going on in the
It's
city.
Cleveland, dude.
Yeah, there's just stuff. And so like anyway, so coming to Haviland, just seeing like it was like, free range children just everywhere. Meeting the loft.
That's
Oh
funny,
dude, hold on.
funny.
I don't want to get off on a rant or on
Go for
tangents.
it, man.
I will.
Yeah.
So that was like my first interaction with you with the shoes, which I could go into something. I'll come back to that. But my first interaction with like with the Lofgrens.
Yeah, let's hear it, dude.
So we moved
Let's hear it.
into next to Barclay were these yellow apartments. They've since been, I think, painted or remodeled or whatever, but that's where we lived for like a few months. And the Lofgren family, who like I've read about in every like storybook growing up about this family that wears like coonskin hats, and all this, I'm like, I was looking at Johnny Lofgren. And so anyway, so I meet, there's like, there's Johnny and there's John, what's I'm blanking on
There's Sam, Johnny, Andrew, Josh.
Andrew. I'm blanking on Andrew. So Andrew's like, I get talking to him and like they're showing me like all this stuff they've built and all this stuff they've done. And I'm like, I bet you can't build a roller coaster. He's like, oh, I bet we could. And I was like, I bet you couldn't. And I'm not kidding. Next morning, I'm hearing saws running, and I'm like, what is going on out there? And sure enough, in the shelter belt, there's a shelter belt that was pretty much the edge of town. Like there's shelter belt and then it's field. And they're back there building a wooden roller coaster. And in a few days, they had like a little fort back there. And from the top of the fort, they had built this roller coaster with this sweet little cart that had like tracks and wheels that kind of hooked around it so it couldn't fly off. And they had a roller coaster going. And I was just like, again, it was just one of those moments. I was like, where the heck have I moved to? Like, this is like stranger than fiction. Like it's actually, this is real. And then another moment, I was in my bedroom in that apartment and I look outside and Johnny Lofgren, I mean, he's got to be, gosh, I don't know. He's probably in elementary age. And I just see him just peeing out in the grass. And I was like, that kid's just peeing out. So he could go in, he's like 10 yards from his house and he's just peeing outside in the grass. I'm like, what's he doing?
Oh,
so anyway,
that's
it
awesome.
was a culture. It was a different culture, but it was also it was super freeing. And as in hindsight, I'm like, dude, what a freeing experience it was.
I've been since I've had a kid, I've been dreaming of that freedom. Like, what we were talking about before we started recording, but like I've been dreaming of this freedom for my daughter, for my, unborn child. Like I plan on having more kids and I feel like I'm being called back to Haviland. And my brother kind of my brother kind of made fun of me when I first told him, I plan on, in about 5 more years, I want to move back to Haviland, and my mom's going to move up north to South Dakota to my
Mhm.
grandpa's place, and I'm going to take over the house I grew up in. And I'm just like, part of me's like, what am I going to do there? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
part of me's like that, but then another part of me's like, I'll figure it out. But like,
yeah,
um, that the one thing that's cool about Haviland, man, it's like every time I go back from Orange County, which is changing all the time, new apartments going up. Excuse me, new apartments going up all the time. Things just popping
yeah,
up all the time. You go back to Haviland, and it's just this little chunk of time that just hasn't really changed much. Like the
yeah,
grade school, the high
yeah,
school, everything. It's not going to be the same though. Like when you came, because the high
yeah,
school doesn't
yeah,
exist. Um,
yeah. Certainly, yeah. I
it's
mean,
not.
rural America's struggling. Like
Yeah.
it's a struggle to stay to continue to exist. To be honest, I mean, it
Why do you
really is.
why do you think that is? Is it because everything's Amazon now? Everything's just you can order things online. So like the
Yeah,
hardware store is no big deal. And then like
yeah,
there's only farming in Haviland, and then there's
yeah,
maybe and then teaching. Farming and teaching are basically like it. And if you're a
yeah,
nurse, maybe you could go to Pratt. That's what I'm hoping my wife will do. Um,
yeah.
Me, I'll just link up with Paul Godfrey and we'll start our own construction company. I'm just kidding.
Yes. Yes, man.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I know. I think, yeah, I don't know. It's a tough,
what's
yeah,
going
it's
on
tough.
with
I
rural
don't,
America though, in your opinion? I'm just curious.
oh
Like,
gosh, man. I'm not the one to tell you exactly. I mean, but I think it's just kind of like, I mean, things that you're like talking about is just, I mean, the world operates in ways that are pretty contrary to the way rural America operates. And like you're talking about, I mean, like even to try to farm out there is like, golly, I mean, talk to any like a family farm, and it's like what a struggle that is. It's pretty much misery when you can have these, custom cutters come in and just bam, 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 it's over. It's done.
oh,
And
that's
so I just
true.
think that it's just, it's kind of that, not to be cliche, but that corporate America is just runs on like efficiency and power and affluency and all those different things. So I think that it's just easy for those places just to kind of become almost like I don't know what the word is I'm looking for. Non-essential. You know what I mean? Like they don't have, as far as like that goes, like the things that we're talking about, like that I talked about that made Havlin so special, doesn't actually benefit what America, I don't want to get too deep into this, but what
You're
America
good.
would see like important. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Like
100%.
as a
Yeah,
whole, like we might say that,
yeah,
whatever, but obviously, watch our world operate and you can tell what's important,
yeah,
and so
yeah,
it's like, so I do think that like those places offer something very unique, but it isn't necessarily something that would put money in
yeah.
people's pockets or things like that. So it's just it's a different value system, all those different things. So I'm not trying to take that down a political route. I'm more just saying,
It's
yeah, there's
kind of
something rich there.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm glad Barkley exists. like a lot of people
yeah,
like I'm just happy it exists, and that because that's what's keeping that town alive. You know what
yeah. It
I
really is. Yeah,
mean? Bringing kids in, bringing families, and so I just think I have a lot of hope, man. Like for rural America, I really do. I think they're taking a lot of, not to get political either, but like they're getting taken for granted of compared to these big cities like New York and
yeah,
LA.
for sure.
But I heard somebody the other day on a podcast. It was a trucker, and I'm not. We won't go down this route, but like I'll just tell a story real quick. There's something going on in New York. I guess this judge did something to Trump, and so all these like high level guys are leaving New York. They're like, well, if they're going to do it to him, we're going to get out of here. We don't want it done to us. And
Yeah,
then some truckers or big MAGA people, and they were like, they said a story about how a trucker fell asleep in Denver, Colorado, or in Colorado. He fell asleep at the wheel and he killed somebody. And the judge sentenced him to 110 years. Well, all these truckers band together and said, well, we're not going to supply Denver or some place in Colorado. I forget what the story is.
Yeah.
And the judge brought him back because the truckers stopped coming in, and they sentenced him to 10 years. And so they're like, listen, you don't want to mess with truckers in middle America and like the food supply. So like I think my theory on a lot of things is there's a big pendulum that swings this way and then it comes back. So like I have a lot of faith and hope that God wants to restore those little towns, and he did so much good things for you and me in those towns.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and so I have faith that rural America will bounce back. It's going to be tough for a little while, but yeah.
Yeah.
But back to like high school and stuff like that. I wrote down a bunch of notes.
I don't know. I got us going on a tangent
No.
somewhere. But yeah.
I got a bunch of notes because I was like, dude, I don't want to forget these little points. You know what I mean?
Keep it coming. Okay, hold on. Before you go there, one more thing.
Yeah.
One thing I was going to say that like and maybe this is more in hindsight, but I think it was like growing up together and being friends was like one thing I really appreciated about you, that like you could like the perfect scenario that kind of like envelops this is that your Iverson shoes was that like you didn't care. And that was like, you don't understand, like coming from, again, like, I mean, I came in middle school, so it wasn't like I was whatever, but I had been all these places where all that stuff mattered. Like all that stuff mattered. Like what shoes you wore mattered. Like what clothes you wore mattered. Like I thought about that stuff all the time. Even being in middle school, like I always thought about that. So I come to have one. I'm like, oh, that dude's got Iversons. I don't have those. Those are sweet shoes. You know, I'm like, nice shoes. And you're like, I'm like, Iversons, nice. And you're who? And I was like, again, it was like that, like feeling all this stuff that like used to matter doesn't matter anymore. And so that was something I appreciated about Haviland. But I also, again, like I say that to you, was like, you've always been that person. Like you've never really cared, but you still like, I could still see you wearing a pair of shoes that like, I'd be like, oh, those are so-and-so's. And you'd be like, I don't know, I just saw them. I thought they were cool. And I was like, I love that. Like, I appreciate that so much that like, you've always just been you, like, regardless. I mean, you wore some, well, anyway.
Oh yeah, dude. I still, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I've been golfing lately. So like when you start golfing and stuff, I went ham on my bag. You know what I mean? I was like, that's a cool looking bag. I'm getting that bag. And then I'm like, those are some sweet clubs. I'm getting those clubs. Like, same thing happens to me on the golf course. Oh, you got the Sims Max D, huh? And I'm like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a nice driver. You know, I don't really know who swings it or anything like that. Or but like it just whatever catches my eye.
I could see you doing that and then like playing in like some like Walmart flip flops and you don't even care.
Yeah.
Like I could totally see you doing that.
For sure. I don't like wearing the button ups. I usually like I'm wearing your shirt right now. I don't know if you see that.
Dude,
Friends of Laura's, baby. I need another one because I
got paint all over mine, but yeah.
I would love another one. Or like two. I gotta get you my address. You gave me a large and dude, I've blown. I'm not 155 no more, dude. I'm like 195, 200.
When I put in my reorder.
Yes, dude.
Sorry, so going on to high school.
Hey man, I appreciate that though. I appreciate you giving me that props. And like what's funny too is like we would go to Walmart and stuff, and I always like to make you laugh. You know what I'm saying? Like it was you and Matthew, Joe, all those guys. Like anytime it was a group, whatever. And I remember being like, yo, Jeremiah, check this out. I'm gonna go up to this guy in Walmart. I'm gonna act like I know him, and I'm gonna get him to be like, I know this guy, you know? And so I'd be like,
he knows you. Like you get it to where he knew you somehow.
And I'd just go up to random people and I'd be like, especially like older men or whatever, and I'd be like, dude, how in the heck you been, man? And then he would start carrying on a conversation with me, and I'd be like, I could tell he was very confused, clearly.
Oh my gosh.
And then I'd be like, you came to my game, man. Like after the game, like you hugged me after that insane moment, that tackle I made. and I won the game, and I just appreciate you coming to that game. And he'd be like, "You're welcome, dude." Like,
It's so ridiculous, man.
that
It's
stuff
so
was
funny.
awesome. That stuff,
So funny, man.
and I see all these prank YouTube stuff today, like on my Instagram. I need to delete all my social media because it's all just whatever. But I'm like,
Yeah.
man, why aren't kids doing that? Why aren't kids doing the
Oh
whole
my gosh.
instead of pranking people, like, throwing a ball at their head and then hiding or something, like,
Yeah.
why don't you go
Yeah.
up to them and be like, just act like you know them and film that? Because that stuff's hilarious.
Dude, I could sit here and tell story after story of stuff you did. Thinking about when we were at I think we were at a college football game, JUCO football game when you played that kid's quads,
Garden
right?
City? Yeah, we were at
Garden
Garden
City. We're
City.
at Garden City Community College.
Why were we there? We got invited.
Michael Choate was playing.
Okay.
And so you and me and Joe, I think.
Probably Mac, maybe.
I don't know if he was there, but I remember Matthew was there. That was after they had moved, but Matthew was there. Anyway, somehow, man, we were like, I bet you could go down there and play that kid's drums. And sure enough, we watch you and you walk down there to this high school that's about to walk out at halftime and play a show, and you're like, hey, the kid takes off his quad drums. You put them on, and next thing you know,
out there playing with the band, baby.
You're playing at a halftime show band, man. And it's just like that stuff was like all the time. And oh my gosh, it's so stupid. Like it's so dumb, but it's so like it's such innocent fun, man.
Yeah. I don't really do any of that stuff anymore. Well, clearly I'm 36, but like,
yeah.
But I think if I was around you guys, because of you guys, the gears would turn, and we would all do it. Like, you're just naming off some things I did, but like we would all do it, but the gears would turn. Like, how do we make this funny? How do we make this night a funny night?
Yeah.
Which was always great, dude.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to you about, like, I'm into music, you're into music. We both kind of fed off each other. I remember I don't know who played guitars first or what happened, but like you ended up taking the guitar and running with it and all that good stuff, but we won't go into that right now. I wanted to bring up like football and how fun football was with you in high school. And like you and I would kind of, like, on those kickoffs and stuff, like we would bring the energy to the locker room with like Under Oath, Emery, like all those bands bands back then. And I could be one of those old men,
probably, but
and
yeah,
I think
know
I
what you're
am,
saying.
but like music nowadays, I'm just like, I can't jive with any of it. I'm just like, there's not a real talent in it. And those guys, Under Oath, that band, we'll just stick with them but for a sec, but like they had a sick band, and you and I would just, man, it created an energy in us that was like needed to be unleashed. In that first kickoff, we would unleash it. And like, how fun was that, dude? That
I
to me
know,
was so
man.
much fun.
It's like sometimes sometimes like when I watch sports now, like I'll see like, dude just like out of his mind, and I'll be like, how the heck do you even get to that place? Because it feels that place feels so far away now. Like there's nothing in life that makes me want to do that, Like
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't
Same.
even know how I could get back to that place if I tried. So yeah, thinking about like getting yourself so jacked up just to run down the field and hit somebody as hard as you can. Like, I couldn't. I don't think I could do it if I tried now. Like, I just don't. I don't like.
No, I'm with you.
So
I'm with
it
you.
was a blast. It was a blast when we did it. Like, and obviously, like I was not a big. I mean, I weighed like 160 pounds, like soaking wet. Like I was long and lanky and still am, but for whatever reason, man, I like to hit people.
Oh, dude, you and me both. Like,
Yeah.
we ended up doing bad our senior year, but our junior year we made it pretty far. What was it, like finals to sub-state
I
or
think
something
we
like
won. I think we won state, if I remember right.
Yeah.
That's the way I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah.
The high school's closed. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, I know, right? They can't see the banners. No, I had a blast with you doing that though. Like, But I think about that now quite often because my lower back hurts a lot. I
Oh
saw
gosh, me too.
shout out Marshall Ballard. I saw him at Walmart one time recently, and he's like, "Yeah, you're getting old." And I was like
Yeah.
it's like hard to like really like fathom we are getting old, you know,
Yeah.
36, 35. But my lower back is I know it's because of football. I know it's from
Oh,
we
yeah.
hit. There
There's
was
no
no
way that helped.
no, there was no soft rules when we played. Like we were
Yeah.
160, 155, free safety and a linebacker, and we hit. And yeah, and then we had this thing called play day. And
Oh man,
one
yes.
time what happened, I don't even know. Play day is like they take the Friday off and then every class makes a parade and then after the parade you're free to go. And you got about 5, 6 hours till the game. And so we always would chill at my
Well,
house.
technically you're not really free to go.
Oh, you're
I
not?
think. I think the thing was like because it was all homecoming, so it was like you do the parade, then you like spend the entire day doing those activities, right? On the football field. Like all
Like,
the races and all that stuff,
oh yeah,
remember?
yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah.
you and
Like
I
kids, yeah.
decided to go ride. Is this when we went and rode your dirt bike?
Yeah, dude. Oh
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So we ride, we're cruising, yeah, we're just doing our thing, and there's a dirt mound behind my house that's probably like 8 feet tall or something like that. And I just remember once again, I don't know why we were this crazy, but we were. And I was like trying to run up it on the dirt bike and jump.
Yeah, we were seeing who could. If I remember right, we were seeing who could make it to the top. We are like, let's see if we can get to the top of because it was loose dirt and stuff.
Right.
So we kept climbing and like seeing who could get higher or whatever. And then you, sorry, go ahead, go
Well,
ahead.
I just remember I tried the first 2 times and you get to the top and then that horrible feeling if you ever ridden dirt bikes is you're not going to make it. So you're going to have to
Yeah.
go in reverse down a hill or a steep hill. So I was like, "Oh, I don't want to do that again." And I tried again and the same thing happened and I was like, "I'm not doing that again where I come back down like that." So I just remember being like, "I'm going to take off about 100 more yards and I
Yes.
should be able to get up there." And I just was like floored it, pedaled down, and then you were standing at the top, I think with Joe.
Yeah, excuse me, yeah.
And then all of a sudden, then I'm airborne. And I was like, I was like, I made it to the top. And I go past the top, maybe like, I don't know, probably
Yeah.
3 feet or 4. I don't know.
Yeah, and
There's a small,
there was a big mountain or like a big, dirt mountain went up like this, and there was a small one that met it on this side.
yeah.
And you went right over that top and just go boom, man, on that backside, smashed your chest into the
Yeah, my
handlebars.
ribs. Yeah,
Oh, your
yeah.
ribs, yeah.
And like my rib was killing. And so then we had to go play a football game right after that. We were stupid. I mean, we did some crazy things. And like that's
Speaking
kind of
of,
keep
oh,
going.
sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say that's kind of like that's what makes me think, what do kids do nowadays? You know what I'm saying?
I know, man.
Like I just am curious. I'm like, I was not in the house, man. I would play video
It
games, but
No, it is crazy. I saw some whatever they're called nowadays. I don't know if it was like a meme or whatever, but it was like, like kids nowadays wouldn't understand. It was this picture like from like the early 90s of this kid, like jumping these like BMX, these dirt jumps. And I was like, that's crazy because like that's especially before I moved to Haviland, we had this place behind our house we'd always ride our bikes to behind this old grocery store, and there's this abandoned woods. All we would do is just build jumps. And then like then we just take pictures of us like lighting a fire in between the jumps and jumping over it and stuff. And but yeah, again, it got me thinking. It's like, I mean, you feel old when you say that stuff. Like, man, these kids nowadays. But it
right,
is
yeah.
no doubt there's a difference. Like, I feel like actually our neighborhood where we live is pretty dang unique. As far as like, there's quite a few kids, and like my daughter's old enough now, and really has been for a few years, where like when it's not school, like they're outside playing and they're at each other's houses and they're doing stuff, and it's like
That's cool.
It's fun. It's like, man, yeah, that's cool. Like, and but then I'll talk to like my siblings, and they're like, oh no, like we don't have any kids in our neighborhood, or nobody comes outside, or like so I think that's unique. I think it's unique to have a neighborhood where like kids are outside playing all the time.
For sure.
Um, yeah, I mean,
Lawrence
it's
is
different.
a Lawrence. It's funny you moved to Lawrence because I'm the KU fan. My
I know.
dad
I
grew up
know.
in Lawrence. I love how my dad hits me up. And for anybody who doesn't know, Jeremiah, he renovated a church and he did a really good job. I've seen it. He's got his own construction company called Friends of Lawrence. And he's just a crafty son of a gun. We'll tell a story about my uncle in a sec, but like Lawrence though
Oh yeah.
is Lawrence is it's a cool town, man. The older I get, my wife wants to move there. Like
Mhm.
she's like, "Are you sure we can't move to Lawrence?"
Yeah.
She's an Orange County girl, so she's like,
Yeah.
"I don't know about the small town." And
Yeah. Lawrence feels small enough.
yeah, but your your neighborhood, I remember it's got those beautiful houses that are across the street, like the big whatever.
Yeah.
They seem
Got a couple
pretty.
nice ones there.
Yeah. And Lawrence, for anybody who doesn't know, is just a unique town where Kansas University's at. Um, but yeah, I'm glad your daughter has a place to play. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's fun in the summer just to be like, just to see them go be kids, do lemonade stands, like,
that's great.
just stuff that like, oh, just kids being kids, and versus like having to chase them off a screen the entire day, or like, yeah,
I
yeah,
wasn't gonna go down this road, but I kind of feel the same way you do as a parent. Is like there's something in the back of always in the forefront of my mind or in my heart of like I don't want these kids to miss out on
yeah,
a piece of life that I cherish now. And my wife has been teaching me like they don't even know any better. Like she's like they won't
yeah,
even know. And my wife does a very good job at she breaks me out of my shell and makes me do Orange County things that I wouldn't think of. Like there's this
yeah,
like little reptile shop down the street. Yeah, it's a busy road, Brookhurst. It's nuts, but there's like a reptile gardens where you get to feed these turtles, and they got big snakes and out like just different reptiles. And I'm like, part of me, my Luna would never have this, and
yeah,
like there's so
yeah,
many things I I at first was like bitter about whenever I started my family here, like, oh, like she's not going to experience that small town. And
yeah,
I weighed too much on those thoughts. And in all reality, my wife picked up the pieces and was like, well, this is what we can do. We can go to the San Diego Zoo. Hey, this is what we can do.
yeah.
They saw Patrick Mahomes at the Disneyland parade, dude. You know,
Oh, really?
yeah,
Yeah.
she's got a Disney pass, and sure enough, Patrick was like, I'm going to Disneyland. And my wife knew, like, and I knew too, like he is going to be
Uh,
there today. And they had already scheduled a day to go. And so, yeah, sure enough, she sends me videos of Luna going, Patrick Mahomes. Like she doesn't know,
yeah, yeah,
but it's cool stuff like that that I'm like, I'm happy about. And
yeah.
I'm sure Lawrence has some cool things that you could jet the kids off to and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right as far as just that idea of like, just because it's not my childhood doesn't mean it's a bad childhood, and potentially brings with it some stuff I didn't get to experience, which like I've seen that with my kids, like some of the stuff they've gotten to do. I'm like, oh man, I didn't really get to do that a whole lot, like that's pretty neat. Um,
Yeah.
so I get what you're saying. Um, yeah, and it's helpful to have like a partner, like a wife that uh points, because Wendy does that same thing. My wife, she, even her childhood was way different than mine. She'll talk about stuff that like she really like looks back on with like nostalgia, and I'm like, ugh. I was like, I would never want to do that. But then like she grew up in like they lived in Western Wyoming, and like they always grew up like going to Las Vegas. Like that was like their like family vacation. She was like, it was a blast. We would just go in there, and like there was just like arcades everywhere. So we would just be in the casino, hotel things, and like we just be in the arcades as a kid. And in my mind, I'm like, Las Vegas as a kid, like I
That
personally
grimy
don't want to go to
place.
Las Vegas as an adult. Like it's not. I mean, like I'd rather be somewhere else. Uh,
I got you.
for anybody who loves Las Vegas, I'm sorry, but like I'd rather be somewhere else. So anyway, stuff like that. But I'm like, but she looks back at that and she's like, it was such a fun part of her childhood. And like, so anyway, what you're saying, I think is true. It's like, and to have that other perspective that's like, hey, it might not be that, but look, we can do this. And it's just as memorable or just as meaningful to, to your, how old is your four? Is your, or three?
She's 3, just turned 3 in
Yeah.
January.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
And then my stepdaughter, she's 12. She'll turn 13
okay. Yeah.
this July. We went to, it's funny you say Vegas because my wife's stepmom and dad, they have 2 boys, and I was the same as you. Because I was a wild man, you know that, for a while, and
Yeah.
I partied in Vegas, and so I just had memories of like probably what you think Vegas is, like just
Sure.
trash. And last
Sure.
time I went, I didn't drink, and we went last July, and I was like, I'm not drinking on this trip, it is, and so it was going to be a whole new experience. And we were going with her mom or stepmom and dad and 2 brothers who are hilarious, and my brother came too, and
Uh-huh.
so it was really fun to mesh my family with her family, and
Yeah.
dude, we had a great time. Like we saw, like, my daughter's into mermaids, and they have like
Oh,
a big live mermaid tank with like
that's
real
awesome.
women who are like in fins and
Yeah.
stuff. And so Luna's just on the glass,
Yeah.
like, and
Yeah.
that was cool. And we played Top Golf, which is kind of cool to have
Oh,
the Vegas
nice.
strip
Yeah.
in the back while we're playing Top Golf.
Yeah.
Um and then her stepmom is like addicted to the slots, dude. And I've never ever done slots. And so what I did is I put $100 in, and I was like, cha-ching, and it does all the numbers. And then it was like on the side, it's like, you lost $20. I'm like, okay, one more time. Cha-ching. And then on the side, 18, I lost 18. I pulled that thing like 7 times, and then there went the $100. And I was like, well, I know what a slot machine's like now. I'm not
That's
gonna do that
that.
again.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I guess
That's
recent,
hilarious.
but like she's her stepmom is she goes to Vegas a lot, and so like we got to stay at the Wynn Hotel for free because of
Oh,
her.
yeah.
Like she get a high
Yeah.
rollers card or something, and
Yeah. Right.
that's why
Right.
we went,
Right.
because it was like, okay, free Vegas trip, let's go.
Yeah.
And I ended up like really cherishing. That's my favorite trip to Vegas was
Yeah.
sober and with the family, and it can be fun. It
Yeah.
really can.
Yeah.
But I get what you're saying, dude. Like
Again, yeah.
you're kind of
It
a
goes back to like less about like where it is and what it is, but who you're with and what like
exactly,
that's what
exactly.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, that in Vegas, that's a big like your nights
Yeah.
like who you're with's pretty big when you're in Vegas.
Pretty big.
Did you watch that Super Bowl at all?
Yes, I did. I'm a pretty bitter Cleveland sports fan, so truth be told, I hate everybody that isn't the Browns. So
Right on. I mean, you got a
mostly
brother-in-law.
because the Browns just continue to let me down. So I don't want to see anybody do well. But I did watch it. It was a great game. I got to hear the fireworks go off, so that's always fun to
Oh, I
hear.
bet. Yeah.
The team you don't like win the Super Bowl. It's awesome. But,
I'm getting a ton of crap online, dude, because everybody, I just moved to this house, and so I don't have my studio like the way I had it, but I had a cool little Chiefs helmet and all sorts of stuff. Like,
oh
I
yeah.
made it like my own little thing, and so everybody knows I like the Chiefs. So I got on Instagram, I got bombarded like with Taylor Swift lover, and like, and there's a lot of like there's I kind of found myself in this conspiracy world in my podcast. I don't go I do, it is fun to talk conspiracy every now and then and be like, oh yeah,
Sure.
maybe this will happen. But I'm not like in the woods, like, and some of these people are in the
That's
woods.
what
So
they all say.
yeah.
Sorry.
My wife's laughing right now. I already know it. But like Okay, I'm a little in the woods, um, but everybody's like, "Oh, it's a rigged game. Everything's rigged," and
Of course,
Travis
yeah.
Kelce signed the Pfizer deal, so that's why Taylor's in. Like, and Taylor just wanted to endorse Joe Biden, so that's the only reason. Like, they're all just jamming me up, dude. And I'm just like, "Go Chiefs!" Like to everybody.
Yeah.
But it's funny about your
Oh
Browns.
gosh.
Your Browns are like there's a guy at work, pretty high up guy, and I love him. He comes up to me and he's like the owner's son, and he's a huge Browns fan,
Oh,
and
really?
huge. And
Poor guy.
he always would come up and talk football to me. And if I'm being honest, I don't pay much attention. Like if
Yeah.
the Chiefs do lose, I don't get sad. Like I'll be like
Yeah.
dang, we lost to the Raiders. That sucks. I hate the Raiders. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
extent of my emotions. But he comes up to me like, dang, sorry about your Chiefs last night. You know, like he's very like
Yeah.
into it. And I'm like, it's
It's
all good, man.
because as a Cleveland fan, dude, it ruins your week.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
even a
Yeah.
joke. It's like when the Browns lose, it's like you wake up the next morning, you're just angry and you don't know why. And then you're like, oh yeah, the Browns lost again. And you're just angry about it. I'm at a place where I'm like, I don't think I should be a sports fan anymore. Because anyway,
I
yeah.
got you, bro. Cleveland curse, dude. I get it.
Yeah.
Uh, they but I really enjoyed talking to him. He always wears a Browns hat. He always like he comes in with different Browns hats. I always mention you. I'm always like, yeah, man, one of my best friends growing up. He's a huge Browns fan. And what was the quarterback that you guys had there at the end?
Oh, Flacco. Joe
Yeah,
Flacco.
he's like Joe Flacco's taking us back, dude. We're doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, good for you, man. Good for you. And I watched the one game. I think it
Oh
was against,
man.
was it against Houston that you guys
The
lost to?
playoff
Yeah.
when they got smoked. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
dude, he came in Monday like, hope your Chiefs do good, man. Just like, just down and out. But I always think of you, and man, it
A
seems like a
roller
vibe.
coaster.
It seems like a
Yeah.
vibe. But the Browns team, like they're like bulldogs, man. Like if you really do watch them play,
Yeah.
they're tough, those guys.
Yeah. I mean, they're fun to like. They were they were fun to watch. This year they were pretty fun to watch, especially at the end. Like when Flacco came in, you're like, dude, they should not be winning games, but this dude just came in and they're winning games. It was like,
That is
let's
cool.
ride it as long as we can.
I thought that was cool from an outside
But
perspective. I was like, that's cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, is your sister in Cleveland? Like your family?
So man, I've got so Josiah, my one and only brother. His family's in Derby, Kansas, like south of Wichita a little bit. And then Jasmine, one of the twins, she's in Derby too. She's married, she lives there, and then all my other family's in Ohio. So
Wait,
uh
so it's only you, Josiah, and Jasmine in
yep,
Kansas?
in
Okay.
Kansas, yep.
Okay.
Everybody else is in Ohio.
Holding down the
My
fort.
parents, Hannah and her family live in the Cleveland area. Uh Sarah and her family live in Canton area, Football Hall of Fame. That's where the Football Hall of Fame is.
Okay.
And then my parents live a little outside the Canton area. So they're kind of all in Northeast Ohio. So
Did you
yeah.
this is random, but like
Yeah.
the train that derailed or whatever, do you remember
Oh
that?
yeah.
Did that affect any of
Wait.
them? Or no?
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. I was thinking because there's one that actually derailed a passenger train not far from us in DeSoto, Kansas, just down the road. That actually was a passenger train and people died. That's the one I thought you were thinking of.
When really? When
That
did
was
this
I can't
happen?
a year ago maybe,
I did
but
not know that.
maybe this yeah, it was between I think it was between here. Don't quote me on exactly where it was, but I think it was between here and DeSoto. And DeSoto's kind of halfway between like here and Kansas City, Lawrence, Kansas City. But there's a passenger train that derailed. Some kid put a penny on the track.
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
I was like, what? I was like, dude. I was like, I
No.
killed a lot of people then.
No,
Because I remember as a
no.
kid lining those up.
No,
That sucks.
bad joke to make.
No,
But
it's pretty good, man. I liked it.
yeah.
How many
yeah.
people
Anyway,
passed?
so
Do you know?
I
Like,
can't remember, man.
okay.
at least, man, now I'm like questioning everything I just told you. I'm like,
You're
maybe that
good.
didn't even happen.
You're good. It
My
was
memory's
actually an
not great.
Amish boogie that fell over. No, just
You know what? I think that was actually the little kid train at the Kansas City Zoo. So never mind
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Did anybody get it like up north? Did your sisters or like dad ever talk to you about like that spill? Did it mess with them at all? Probably not.
Yeah, that's a good question. I honestly don't know. But that wasn't, I mean, that's not super far from the, gosh, where was that? Do you remember?
No, it's kind of
Okay.
on the tip of my tongue, but kind of not.
Okay.
I know people are screaming like because they know exactly where it was.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. I kind of want to bounce back a little bit back to Haviland for a sec,
Yeah,
just
go
because
for it.
I wrote down this note and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna address this. But do you remember the one time Josh Lofgren was like cleaning his car and washing it? And so he was cleaning his car. So just imagine anybody listening, like you're cleaning your car, you get it nice. It's a white Aries. And and Josh was always nice and would let us drive his vehicle like anywhere. Like if you wanted to go to McDonald's real quick in Pratt or Walmart, bam, Josh was the guy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and and so Josh is scrubbing down, cleaning his rims, and we're like cruising or something, and we roll up, you and me, and we're like, "What's up, Josh?" I just cleaning my Aries, man. Like, and then we chop it up, and I don't know what happened to where you were like, "Hey, man, do you mind if I take your car?" Like he finished cleaning his car, and he's like, "You mind if I take
Oh
your car and
gosh.
go get a soda?" You know, because there was a soda machine down on Main Street. You could go get
Yeah.
a
Oh,
Mountain
that's
Dew or
right.
whatever. And I think it was you, but I could be wrong. But um, so I stayed back with Josh, I think, and then there was like it just rained, and so you like
Oh
took
my
it through mud,
gosh.
bro. You
Oh my
took this.
gosh.
No, no,
What
no,
a
dude.
jerk.
No, no, no. Don't
Oh
feel
my
bad.
god.
This is hilarious. Okay. So I'm pretty sure it was you, but I could be wrong. But you go mudding in this thing, dude, and you hit something to where it just launches mud on the ceiling, on the everything, and you come back, dude. And I was
Oh,
dying. I was dying. It like Josh was
oh, I'm
like,
so sorry, Josh. If I did, I don't even remember that, but this sounds like something dumb I would
dude,
do. Yeah.
that's funny, man. That don't feel like you're a jerk for doing that. That's hilarious. But
Earlier when I was saying oh, sorry. Yeah,
no,
keep
no,
going.
keep no, you're good. Earlier, what?
Oh, well, I was gonna say too, like again, like I make light of everything, but again, like going back to the Lofgrens too and living next to them, like they were also like they were awesome. And I got the crazy part with the Lofgrens is like I had like a meaningful relationship with like I had a meaningful relationship with Johnny for a while, had a meaningful relationship with Andrew for a while, had a meaningful relationship with Josh for a while, and then I had a meaningful relationship with Ed when I worked for Ron Kendall, you know. And so like, you know, it's and like all of them were like, yeah, like each person was like such a special person and like I mean, of course they were all similar, but they all have like anybody, all have like different unique gifts and so yeah, that family like being one of the first ones that we really met and got to know and then like I said, had like different levels of relationship with so many of them was super meaningful and I
That's
really
really
enjoyed
cool.
working with Ed the last couple of years we were in that was actually after I was married. We were back in Haven for a couple of years and like yeah, Ed really like became a good friend during those years. So yeah.
So you have become your own contractor in Lawrence, Kansas. How long have you been your own contractor?
Yeah, so when we moved here, I didn't have a job. Like I was gonna stay home with my daughter because she was in preschool or half day preschool, and my wife had gotten a job teaching. And then slowly, like I had been, you know, I had worked for Ron for a few years in Haviland, and I was like, I did find that I was like, oh, like I love doing this stuff, and we did like Ron's last project was like a really cool house that we did a lot of like high end stuff on, and I was like, whoa, that was a lot of fun. Um, And also shout out to Brad Sluss, because he also was awesome to me. He worked for Ron. He was kind of Ron's, well, he's the one who kind of quote took over the business. But Brad, when Ron retired, Brad pretty much ran with things. And dude, he's incredible, like, craftsman, and he like took me under his wing. Like he just pretty much saw that I had like initiative and wanted to learn, and he was just like, and just taught me everything along the way. And then I left him and I felt really bad. He was like, dude, he was like, I thought you were going to do this with me. I thought you were going to work for me. I was like, I did too, but I guess we're moving. Anyway, so when we moved to Lawrence, eventually I started just doing stuff on the side, just kind of like, I don't know, one thing led to another. I was like, oh yeah, I could do that. And by the time my daughter hit kindergarten, I was like, well, I guess I'm busy enough I could start doing this full time. So I probably did it for like a year, and then I was like, well, I might as well get licensed here. Got licensed, and I think it was 2017 when like I officially like got licensed, officially like formed the business, and then just started running with it. And honestly, man, I don't plan a lot in my life, like for better or for worse. Like it's kind of like, I think let's just kind of see where this goes. And the whole reason I started doing this was like, it was such a great way to like meet people and to have relationships and to build relationships with people. And I felt like I was actually providing like tangible like services. And I like that, like being able to do things like people needed stuff done. It was like, well, I can do that. And I want to do it in a way that's like honest and full of integrity, and like the old Quakers, like that's kind of what they prided themselves on, and as far as business, just like they could be trusted type of thing. And I was like, hey, so that's kind of how it happened. And I don't even know how I am. Here I am today, and like kind of gone through phases, and I had help for a while, and then I'm now back to being technically I'm by myself. So bigger projects, I use a lot of subcontractors. But I mostly just do remodel, renovation work, like additions, I have like one small new construction thing coming up, but honestly, I try to stay away from that stuff. I really like old houses. And this town's full of them. And now kind of work wise, I'm split a lot between kind of the renovation work, and then I do a lot of like custom cabinetry and furniture pieces too. That's kind of just about become like a 50-50 split as far as like business.
What do you mean by
and that? Like by the 50-50 split?
Yeah.
Or by like just kind of like that being like in my mind, like which I probably shouldn't, but like I really tend to like separate those two things. Like it's like the renovation and the remodeling, that work in my mind is like, okay, that's like contracting, that's like construction. And then there's this other piece of like this custom woodworking, that's cabinetry and furniture and that type of stuff.
You could do that in your own shop, right? Like your own.
Yeah. And so like kind of in my head, even kind of in my head, I kind of almost keep those things kind of separate because they feel so different, and they're done so differently, even from a business standpoint, like how I charge and all that different stuff. It's like two different modes almost. But I think my like deep dream has always been I would just slowly kind of move more and more just into the woodworking side of things, because I just enjoy it more. It's really enjoyable work, but it's also like a smaller. We don't talk about this forever, but
you're good, dude.
It gets trickier too because you're getting into like a smaller. It's more of a niche thing, like only so many people have the means and want to spend those means on that type of stuff.
You're in a good area though, Lawrence and Kansas.
Yeah, I think like for the most part, yes. Like I said, it's grown, so I guess that means like there's enough people that want to keep doing it. But sometimes you're like, man, like how do you actually make? Yeah,
you could build a whole bunch of cabinets, but it's like, when are they gonna get sold? Or like, like
yeah,
like a lot of your effort isn't, your harvest isn't there yet. And so it's
Yeah,
like,
so
when's
I've
this?
only yeah, so like on that stuff, like I only have built commission pieces. Like I haven't built any pieces that are like I'm gonna build to sell for like furniture or stuff like that. I have all different, I have like drawing after drawing of like, okay, furniture pieces that I'm gonna build, but like I'm not a risk taker, so I'm like, nah, I'll just wait till somebody comes up and
Yeah.
says I want this, and then I'll draw it for them and build it,
Yeah.
and I'll know that there's money on the other side.
Yeah.
Versus like, all right, I'm just gonna build pieces and try to sell them. Um,
That is risky.
so uh, but no risk, or I
So
guess
you
the
so
smaller the
you
risk, smaller
created
reward.
Friends, that's how you created Friends of Lawrence. It just kind of, it organically came about, and you were fixing up your church,
Yeah,
which is technically like where you're staying, and you had
yeah,
I remember seeing it in 2016. It's a massive
yeah.
church. But it's
It is.
old. It's got like that sand rock, or is that
Yeah,
right?
that's all. Yeah, limestone. Yep.
Limestone, yeah, sorry. And and I remember walking into it in 2016, and you were like, "Yeah, I have plans to do this. I have plans to do this." And then I came back this summer, and I got lucky to see what you've done. And I love what's something that's unique that you're going to give your kids, especially your son, is like, yeah, I remember growing up, my dad built my house. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
there will
yeah,
there will be like that whatever you're going to ingrain in him from doing that is the knowledge and the probably the willpower he'll have to just be like, my dad did this, I can do this. Like he's gonna have a lot
sure.
of that, dude. And touche on that. I'm like you in the sense of risk. Like
Yeah,
when 2020 hit and they were doing some stuff and forcing stuff, I was like, you know what? If they make me do something against my free will, I'm going to become my own contractor. Morgan Choate
yeah,
has done it with Rough Cuts. Jeremiah has done it with Friends of Lawrence. You guys inspired me. And my brother will not shut up about, hey, Drew, you need to do your own thing. But I don't like taking risks, dude. You know what I mean?
yeah. I
Like,
get it, man. Yeah, I know.
and so like that steady paycheck and the dental insurance for the kids and me, like it just right now it just feels like this is where I should stick and stay. But when I move
Yeah,
to the Midwest, I'm gonna be talking to you a lot because I think I'm gonna be doing my own thing. But
yeah.
needless to say, I admire that about you, and I am very proud of you for doing that. Because like
Well, I appreciate it, but yeah,
sometimes, like if I show up at 6:01 instead of 6, like doesn't matter how good I do between 6:01 to 2 p.m. No matter what I get done, the guy next to me could get 2 pieces done. I could get 20. I'm
yeah,
still the a-hole for showing up at 6:01. And I hate that about working for a company.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And the
yeah,
freedom and the peace of mind you probably do end up having, even though it is stressful, is worth more than you understand when you got to deal with politics. It's like, really?
yeah,
And I'm not even gonna get into it because I'll get in trouble. But like, I just keep my mouth shut, homie. And God has taught me so much
yeah,
patience throughout the years of just, if anything, it's patience that couldn't be bought. And and it's only because of dealing with people.
yeah.
And yeah.
I mean, I get what you're saying.
But speaking of people, you met my uncle. This is a crazy story. Anybody
Yeah,
watching, listening, is Jeremiah and me were best friends in Haviland, which is like 5 hours away from Lawrence. And I would go as a kid to my cousin's house, and it was a very fond memory of going to my cousin's house for Christmas. And anyways, so we all grow up just like we're talking about, and Jeremiah's now in Lawrence. And how did you come across my uncle's house?
yeah. I got a call from Tom, your uncle, which I may or may not have known his last name at that point, but if I did, I didn't put it together because I had done some work. It was pretty early on when I was getting going with stuff, and I did some work on their neighbor's house, um, and so I think your uncle was wanting some stuff done. That might have been like I think they were wanting new windows or something. And so I went over there to look at it with him and just got talking to him or whatever. And I think I I was done, and we were just kind of like chatting as I was about to leave, and I think maybe he asked, like, I don't know, somehow or another, I told him, I'd only been in Lawrence, we'd only been living here for a couple years, and I was like, yeah, we last lived just kind of out in South Central Kansas, in this little town. And he's like, what's it called? And I was like, oh, I was like, you wouldn't know. I was like, it's called Haviland. He's like, oh yeah, I know Haviland. I was like, well, if you know Haviland, that probably means I know whoever you know in Haviland. Like
Yeah.
it's impossible not to. And he's like, yeah, let's see, that'd be your dad's sister, right?
Yeah. Yep. His
Yeah,
wife.
so my brother-in-law, yeah, used to live in Haviland. Now he lives in Pratt, but he used to live in Haviland. And I was like, "Who's that?" Like, like Rick Logan. I was like, "You're Andrew's uncle?" I was like, "Your son's Mark." Immediately because I
Wow.
just remember you always
Yeah.
talking about Mark Albers, Mark
Yeah.
Albers.
Yeah.
I was like, "Your son's Mark." Yeah, I was like, "Oh my gosh," like this is wild. I was like, my entire childhood, I heard stories of Andrew coming up to Lawrence, staying with his uncle, hanging out with his cousins, and um so anyway, yeah, it was pretty wild. Again, Lawrence is a relatively small town, 100,000 people. The longer you live here, the smaller it feels, but did not did not expect to, end up at your uncle's house and without knowing, that was kind of the crazy part. Yeah.
Of course. When
Yeah.
I don't think you even told me, and neither did he,
Yeah, I don't know if
that
I
you
did,
guys
yeah.
met. And I came back for one Christmas and from California and and you left a cutting board. I think that's what you do for everybody, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
said your logo, Friends of Lawrence.
Yeah.
And I randomly was talking about the windows you did. And my aunt, she was we were washing dishes, and I was like, it was cold, man. Kansas is like it was
Yeah.
0 degrees. It was winter, and she's like, "Oh, I love my new windows. It keeps the heat in, all this stuff." I was like, "Dang, those are nice." Like I was admiring the work and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then my uncle came in, and then he heard us talking, and he goes, "Oh, your buddy built those." And I was like, "What?" Like I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, Jeremiah built those." And I was like, Jeremiah Williams?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "What?" And like it
Yeah.
just blew my mind. I was like, "What?" Like,
I
and
know, man.
it was cool though. Like the just it just was like, whoa. Like, first of all, I was like, dang, Jeremiah must have millions now. He's just doing everybody's houses, Lawrence. No, but I was like,
Nope.
yeah, that's a cool. It was awesome, but to go back. I'm sorry for all this bouncing around, but like to go back
No,
to high
please.
school, I remember you were kind of very just chill. Like you were smart. Like I would cheat off you in science and math, whatever. And
I would
then,
cheat off somebody else probably. So
well,
yeah.
yeah. So then, but when it came to shop, that's where I flourished, I thought. And I was like, I can
Yeah,
weld, I
you
can do
did.
these things. And you'd be like, hey man, weld me. Like we'd have to test out on a little clip or something. And you'd be like,
Yeah.
hey Drew, you weld it for me. So I would. And then we would do work and stuff like that. So it blew my mind because you kind of would, like, let's be honest, like we would normally just go get a soda, and
Yeah.
you would get Skittles, and then
Yeah,
we would
that's
sit
right.
back,
Yeah.
and just talk to Griffin, the
Yes.
cross-eyed Griffin, the crazy cross-eyed guy.
Like the whole goal was to try to talk the whole hour so that we didn't have to do anything. That
Yes.
was my goal, like every shop class. Yeah.
And then another goal of ours, and people may not find how funny this is, but we'd get him to talk, and we'd be asking him questions. And then we'd pick up a tool, and we would hand him a tool, and he would grab it and just kind of hold it and keep talking. And so then we would grab
Yeah.
another tool and
Yes.
stay engaged in the conversation and hand that tool off to him again, like a sawzall, a wrench. And this guy's
Oh
telling a
my
story
gosh,
with
man.
his hand full of
Oh
tools.
my Oh man, again, it's like it's such dumb stuff, but it's so funny, man.
Oh,
It's so
dude.
stinking funny.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
Griffin.
my gosh.
And like if you guys only saw Griffin, like this guy was just he was a classic guy, man. Classic shop
Yeah.
teacher. Like
Yeah,
I've
perfect.
I've debated about when I go back if I want to hit up Morgan Ballard or somebody and be like, hey, do you guys need a shop teacher at Skyline? You know, I'll be the
Yeah.
guy. And part of me is like, but Griffin was the shop. Am I turning into Griffin? No,
Do
I'm
you
just
want to
kidding.
be that guy?
Nah, but
No, you were, but going back to what you're saying, like you were and still are always like, yeah, like you've got a creative side that like is incredible. I mean it, like truly mean it. And like when you show me your like what you're doing, like welding, like what you do is like I know I can't do that. And so like when I see what you send me, I'm like, dang, I'm like that, like that's incredible. Like it's
yeah,
incredible. So it is crazy that like
thank you. Appreciate that.
that I ended up, you know, like doing like this stuff. And I mean, I didn't envision it this way. Um, but anyway,
Yeah, I thought you were gonna be like your pops, like maybe a pastor or youth pastor or somewhere go
yeah,
down that
man,
road. Um,
I had no, I mean, yeah,
but
I
dude,
didn't know.
yeah, I often wonder too if later on in life I'm supposed to be like a youth pastor or I don't know, or it doesn't have to be that. It could be like a
Yeah,
teacher that's more, you know, there for the kids and like can like kind of guide them in the right way rather than
yeah,
like you probably shouldn't drink and drive and party and like, you know, just give wisdom and then also like tell your testimony and stuff. But like, um,
so
I
you
don't.
did. I'm gonna keep because I
Okay.
feel like, sorry, I'm gonna keep telling you things that I appreciate you,
All right.
mostly because
I'll take it.
I I just want to. No, man, because the older I get, like the more I just look back on this stuff and I'm like, but again, like another thing that like I always appreciate about you is, and I would say this, actually I'll say this because I'll confess this, like growing up, like you and I were like we were buds, like best friends, but I was always internally like highly competitive with you too. Like, because
Oh yeah.
we were always like
Come
same
on.
position, like same everything. And so like internally I was like my best friend, but like I I don't want you to be better than me at anything, you know, like
Yeah.
anything. But I struggle with that in life. Like I'm just like I'm always catching myself being like, dude, would you just celebrate that somebody's good at something and then stop trying to like be better at it than them? You know, because it's like what I'm always trying to do is like I see what somebody does, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could do that better. I bet I could do it better, you know? And it's a super like it's pride is what it is. And it's like it's crippling. It's a terrible way to think. So anyway, all that being said is I think a lot of times growing up with you and with many of our friends, like when I think about a lot like Joe and Matt, I mean, we were kids, but at the same time, there's just a lot of like looking back, I'm like, gosh, I wish I would have just like told you a lot of these things in the moment of like, dang, you're really good at this, or like you guys are super gifted in this way, or whatever. And so speaking to you, like just like you always had, I mean, I know you talked about like maybe later on down the road, well, you know, I'll do this or that, but I'm like the one thing that I always really appreciated and was encouraged by and challenged by you was like you had a genuinely and still do a genuinely soft heart for people. Like you always have. You just have always like you just have always had like this very compassionate, soft heart for people.
Oh yeah.
And like
Thank you. Sorry.
and yeah. And
Thanks,
so
dude.
like that's one thing I always remember growing up with you. And now looking back, it's like, man, like that's a true like I mean in my eyes, like that's something like Christ has placed in you, like a true compassion for others, you know. And so it was always fun seeing, I mean, you expressed it in ways that like I never would have or could have, even if I tried. But that was the best part. I was like, dude, I could have never done what he just did. But it was like I saw you make somebody laugh that like had no business laughing, you know, and it was like, dang, you know, like
That's cool, dude.
so
Hey, no, thanks, bro.
yeah.
I get a lot of that from my dad, I think, but that because that's what I admire about my pops. Like
Mhm.
he would go down to the crazy home with a camera and like a guy liked dog food, so he'd get him dog food. And like my dad would take me with him. This was like before you came to Haviland.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
dad's taking me with him as a little kid, and he's filming this guy who thinks he's going to be the president. He's like, "All right, here's your campaign," and like he made these, and we
That's
do have some
awesome.
of the videos, and like he would give people the time, just even though they're mentally they had some mental challenges,
Right.
drug addictions that they came off of or something.
Yeah.
And I remember him showing me a guy who was a heroin addict who's not anymore, and he's like, the guy could barely even walk straight, but my dad took him to the church to the drum set, and he's like, got on the drums, and he was like, I was like, wow, this guy's good. But I
Yeah.
respect you telling me that, because that's something I admire about my dad. But
That's cool.
well, dude, thank you. I wanted to talk about you know Mexico mission trips. I'm not trying to keep you much longer, but like uh
No.
the Mexico
No,
mission
please don't.
trips, dude.
No, sorry,
Like
keep going.
sorry, I just got the Mexico mission trips for
Keep
me
going.
were like one of the best things with you.
Yeah.
Going to like the poverty part of Mexico. It was weird. Sometimes it was nice, sometimes it was poverty. Like Palau
Yeah.
was, we had to wash in rivers, and I think it
Yeah.
was, or something like that, Palau.
Yeah.
And
I think that's Nacimiento, but yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'd light our farts on fire and do all sorts of stuff. And I won't get
That
into
was
it.
Palu. I remember
That was
that.
Palau, dog. But that was so much
Yeah.
fun. Was your brother Josiah with us on that one? I think he was.
No, I think he was on the last one, I think. Uh I don't remember where we were on the last one, but I think that one was like, I think that was Adam.
Oh, Adam. Captain No
Yeah,
Fun.
Captain No
Okay.
Fun, man. Talk about a
CNF.
guy who invested a lot of time into us. Like,
I know, right? I
yeah,
know. I
yeah.
I made fun of him a lot, and like I'm not sorry for it. He deserves it. I love Adam. Um but like I need to reach out to him and get him on here and just pick his brain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh man.
But uh I might even have you join that one. Like that would
That
be
would be
freaking
great.
fun.
Yeah.
But Adam, the fact that he was this insanely white guy and could speak such fluent Spanish
I know.
is incredible. Like
I know.
he taught me the wee like,
Yeah, yeah.
and even to this day, because I work with a lot of Spanish people in
Yeah,
in the
same here.
shop and stuff, and I'll be picking up a pipe and they do that sound. When they're done welding something, they'll go,
Yeah.
whoa, like they do all that, and,
Yeah.
and then I'll pick it up and I'll go, wee like I'll just do silly stuff like that with them.
I know.
But it's a it's a time in my life that like um I cherish more than anything, because I was with you, I was with my brother, um I was with Michael, Matthew, all just a good group of guys, and I was addicted to chewing tobacco. I still am addicted to nicotine, and like I remember I just felt obligated not to bring it, mainly because of the border check, and I thought I was going to get in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Mostly because there were guys with
yeah,
AK-47s
yeah,
there, so
yeah, and I felt like that was going to get me arrested, so I was like, oh man. And you would always comfort me when I was nicking out or whatever, like like you were always cool with me, dude. And then but we would make it down, and I never once craved it, dude, when I was down there with you guys. And that's,
Oh,
to me, like I don't know what that is about life. Like I could be in Orange County. I've done a lot of cool things. I've done worldly cool things, like
yeah.
partied with Aaron Hernandez, and like before he got arrested. That's not cool, but you get it. Like I've done things
Yeah,
that
yeah.
people would think are awesome. Um and but no matter what I've done, I always, now that I think back for my daughter, and I think back to even my stepdaughter, and I'm like, I want them to feel the Holy Spirit the way I felt it with my friends in Mexico, because
Yeah,
whatever that was, I've never been happier. Like technically I have, like meeting my wife and having my kid, but I don't know, man, there was something about knowing you were in God's will at that time, or whatever. Um,
sure. Yeah.
like I don't know about you, but I just had real fond memories of those moments in Mexico,
Yeah.
in the poorest place, and I was
Yeah.
the happiest, dude. It was
I
great.
mean, it's no coincidence. You know, we talked about it when we were in high school, and it's like, you know, we come back and we'd give those, you know, like Mexico reports, and we'd be like, you know, I can't believe like we went to this place, and it's like, you know, these people don't have anything, and they're so happy, and blah blah blah, and like I'm 35, and it's like I still know that's true. Like I still know that, like, as far as like the world that I'm usually trying to set up around myself, like even subconsciously or whatever, it's like I know that like majority of the things that I am concerned about don't bring me joy. They just bring more worry, like nonstop. And so it's like you have those let's say like mountaintop moments, right? You where you're just kind of like all of a sudden you're like lifted from this place and you're put in this place and everything's stripped away from you, and all you have is community and like serving people and times of worship, and like so it's just you're just in relationship with people and with Christ. And that's the only thing that matters in that for that week is relationships with Christ and people. And it is like this, you're like, oh, like again, this is my take, but it's like this is what we were made for, right? This is why God created us, to be in relationship with him, to be in relationship with others, like to be in community, with him and with others. And you're like in that week, it's so stinking heightened. You're just like you get this, I don't know, man. Sometimes I think of them as like, and I've heard other people say this, but like these thin places where it's like, you know, I don't want to, but we live in this reality where it's like, as if you're a Christ follower, right? Where you're like, I live here in this world, and I know this isn't it. Like, I know that this is part of it. And I know that God's plan is to continue to uh, call people towards himself and continue to redeem the world. And he's not like he's not done with the world, you know, and there's still reconciliation happening and whatnot. But I also know like this isn't it. Like what I feel here, what I see here, what I taste here, what I, you know, all my senses can perceive. This isn't it. Like this isn't everything. This is just a small part of it, and it's an imperfect part of it. And then places like Mexico, it's almost like there's like this, it's like a thin place where it's like, oh my goodness, but I haven't experienced this. And it's almost like you're that much closer to this reality of what it might look like when we're in that full like repaired relationship with Christ, and like how it was intended to be from the beginning of God creating humanity to be in like relationship that has no fallen nature, has no hurt, has no sin, has no brokenness. It's just you and Christ, you know? I don't know if that makes sense. I'm
Makes a
kind of
lot of
going
sense.
off.
It makes a lot
But
of
I
sense.
just feel like those moments you kind of get just even like a stronger taste for it, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. And then all of a sudden you're back in your everyday life, and you're trying to reconcile,
Yeah.
okay, well, how do I what I just tasted was so good, but like I know like where I live, and like, hey, we have to go to work. Hey, we have to take care of our kids. Hey, like we have to put food on the table. Like it's all these different things. So like how do I continue to how do I continue to find joy? How do I continue to find hope? How do I continue to ultimately find Christ in all this ordinary, mundane stuff that unfortunately is necessary if we're going to exist in this world? But how do I find Christ and also allow Christ to put all that stuff in its rightful place so that the other stuff doesn't consume me? And I feel like that's what I spend most days battling in walking in that tension of like, what's Jeremiah and what's Christ? Like, and what's Jeremiah wanting something that doesn't matter, or putting my, you know, caring about stuff that has zero eternal value and honestly probably didn't have value in a year from now, but it's consuming me and it's filling me with anxiety and it's filling me with depression and, you know, all those different things. And so anyway, sorry, man, I just said a lot, but
No, that's a podcast, dog. Keep speaking.
yeah.
It's good.
But I
That's
think
good
all
stuff.
that to say is just your point on Mexico. I just think it was like one of those experiences where you just kind of got to have a greater a greater glimpse into like what we were originally made for and what it looked like, you know, before brokenness entered the picture. Um,
1000%. What? No,
so
you nailed it. And like even listening
yeah,
to you and studying some things that are going on in the world, you know, even if you don't look into um, the World Economic Forum or all these things that I've been diving into lately, dude, I I was low key like it's hard to look at the darkness so
yeah,
much, you know?
yeah,
And
I
I feel
know.
bad for a lot of people that are doing these podcasts that I've kind of interacted with because people ask me to come on and stuff, and I come on and I'm like, man, you're pretty consumed by the darkness, and it's not your fault. Like you know what I mean.
Yeah,
It's you want to fix it, you want to get down to the bottom of it, and all this
yeah,
stuff, and I found myself doing that for a long time, and um, it's it's I didn't know where I wanted to go with this show or whatever, and I was like,
sure.
I need to reach out to Jeremiah. Like I've been waiting to talk to you. I've been waiting to get you on when I felt like I was ready. I don't know, because like it's weird starting a podcast, bro. It's like,
Yeah, I can't
what do you
imagine. I
do?
would.
Like,
You
and
said you're not a risk taker, but dude, I would never start a podcast, so kudos.
I guess socially, I'll take
Yeah,
all the risks in the world. I don't care what anybody thinks
yeah,
of me. You know that. Like,
yeah,
I am who I am, and I promise it comes from a good heart, like you said. And
yeah.
I am not perfect, and sometimes I yeah, like I feel, oh man, I feel like I judge myself more than I think people judge me, and
Yeah.
I need to stop doing that. But um shoot, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh yeah, but like anybody listening, because I do have a lot of fans in LA and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and like they see what's going on. It's weird, man. There's like
Yeah,
it feels like there's something going on in this country that's not good. And I love what you said about that thin line between what God intended us to be as a human society. And like I hate the idea of Democrats. I hate the idea of Republicans.
right.
I work with inspectors who are Democrats. I work for a boss who gives money to Trump. Like he has so much
Right,
money, like he loves Trump. And
right.
I've had to pull away from both those because not gonna lie, I like Trump. So I had to pull away from both those ideas and just
Yeah,
come down to like, dude, I started noticing like when I meet a lot of Democrats out here. I'm in SoCal, you know, and
yeah.
when I meet somebody who's a Democrat, I instantly would just turn to a judgment to them.
I know,
And
man.
and I'm like, dude, I got to break this cycle. I got to break this thought because the truth of the matter is this that God and Christ definitely wants us to unify the way we unified in Mexico as just people, not race, not anything.
I
And
know.
and the system has the matrix you could call it has built a lot of divisive behaviors, and I subconsciously have it. And I'm like, I
I
want to
know.
get rid
I
of it.
know.
And so
I
I'm doing
know.
my best to get rid of it. And honestly, I came to that conclusion earlier this week, and I was like, I need to talk to my boy. Like, and so like it was, I even prayed about it. I was like, I don't know, Jeremiah, because I know you. You know, I was like, I don't know if he wants to get on a podcast and talk about anything.
I try to
So
stay incognito as much as
yeah,
possible,
I had a
but
reference in my head today, and I was like, if I think about Jeremiah, you know, he's very under the radar, no social media. I respect the crap out of it, but he's very under the radar, and I'm over here like with my spotlight, just like you could shoot at me, you know what I mean? Just polar opposite. And so I
yeah.
didn't know how this was gonna go, but dude, you did.
So that's probably why we get
Yeah,
along and have gotten along so well, is because we're, you know, I'd probably never be friends with someone just like me. I'd probably be like, I can't stand that person. But
dude,
but
you're a legend
someone,
to
you
me.
know, yeah.
You're a legend. Like
So
you talk about us comparing, you know, ourselves in sports. I
yeah.
saw when you got past me. Like I was like, is when I played ball with you at Barkley, I was like, oh, this kid's good, man. I was like, Jay Will is good at ball. And like and I was not. Uh And anyway, I just could play the crap out of defense, but you
Yeah,
were
you
you were
could.
just a baller, man. And I just remember having that subconscious talk to myself, like, yeah, he's just surpassed me. um,
See, but I would. Well, anyway, yeah.
well, dude, I'll wrap it up. I
All right.
normally have a question I ask the guest or whatever. Um, and it's like, do you have any verse or a quote that you think about? Like mine is, at the proper time we'll reap a harvest if we don't give up. I just that
Yeah,
it just
it's good.
that verse is really stuck in my head, and I didn't know if you have one that you wanted to share with the audience.
Yeah, man, that's a great question. I've got a lot. So I would just say that there's a guy named Henry Nouwen. He's got a long story, but he's an author. And he pretty much anything he wrote, he's dead now, but he was a super intelligent guy. Uh, Taught at like Yale and all these different things. Anyway, ended up kind of the end of his life. He lived in this home for people with disabilities, and like where like none of his stuff mattered anymore. Like all of his prestige, all of his you know uh degrees and all that stuff. He was now in a place where it was like none of that mattered, and it was like where he found like purpose. And so anyway, that guy, I would just say more than like a specific phrase, I would say Henry Nouwen himself has been like someone that I just continue to read, especially the last handful of years. That's why one of the reasons our son is named Henry, uh, due to this guy. But he just writes. So I mean, I would just say I would encourage anybody who is looking for meaning in life. Like Henry Nouwen is a super intelligent guy, but has this really basic way of just explaining that, like, man, like we matter. Like that God looks at us and says, like, you have value and you matter to me. And with all the stuff and all the crap that you have to like sift through in life, it's like sometimes you just want somebody to look at you and just be like, hey, like you matter and you have deep eternal value as a human being, as a person. And so I feel like that guy has continued to ultimately speak the love of Christ to me, in those moments that I'm like, dude, what am I doing? Does any of this even matter? um it's like, okay, I guess because you said so, I'll just believe it today, that type of thing. So anyway, I don't have a quote, but I would say Henry Nouwen has continually spoke important truth into my life for quite a while now. So thanks, Henry. You're dead, but thanks, man. Your legend lives
When
on.
was he like alive?
I think he died in like the early 90s, maybe. But he was, I mean, I think most of his writings were kind of like 70s, 80s. Don't quote me on that. I'm so bad at
Okay,
remembering
don't
anything
worry
that
about it.
matters.
I'm reading
But
this. Keep going. But what?
no, I was just gonna say something in that, or something in the ballpark.
My friend gave me this. It's called the Four Agreements, and it's like be impeccable with your word. Um, and then the second agreement, like don't take anything personally. Like these just agreements. And he's a Christian author. He's awesome. And
Okay, yeah,
I need to read that book, but
good.
this book has been teaching me a lot,
It's
man.
been good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just for my self insecurities and
yeah, I know,
and
man.
also my judgment towards people. And
Yeah,
it's hard to break those things, dude. He calls
it
them,
is.
I forget what he calls them, but he's teaching you how to break those. And I'll have to read it
Because
like 4 times.
they're like fueled by each other, like
Yeah.
those insecurities are what fuel that judgment, and the
It's
judgment continues to fuel the
it's
insecurities, and
it's
it just,
crazy. Yeah. And
yeah,
he's like, if you can master yourself, you will master life. And like in your own way.
yeah, yeah,
But dude, I've really enjoyed this podcast. I got one more question just because for my conspiracy people out there.
Yes. Oh, here we go.
You see that moon that's 260,000 miles away at night?
Uh-huh.
You think in the 60s we got in a rocket and went there?
All right, I will say, so I don't talk conspiracies. Well, pretty much with anybody but my wife, who looks at me like, "Are you being serious right now?" And I'm
All
like,
right.
"I'm just saying, like, doesn't that seem a little weird, you know?" Like,
Right.
but I'll just say that I can't believe everything's true. I'll just say that everything can't be true. That in itself seems ridiculous. That everything in life is true.
Yeah,
So,
dude.
everything that we've been taught.
Yeah. My dad's
Maybe
funny.
there's some gaps in there that we don't know about, is all I'm saying. So.
My dad's funny. He's like, of course it's true. I was in 6th grade. They rolled out the TV and I saw it. Oh, man.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I think it's on like Despicable Me or something. It was some kids show I was watching the other day where they like in the middle of the show they like cut through and it's like the filming of being on the moon. I can't remember. It might
It
I
is.
feel like it's Despicable Me or
It
something. Okay.
is. Yeah.
Oh man, it made me laugh so hard. I was like, yeah, anyway.
All right.
Yeah.
I think everybody knows Jeremiah's answer. I'm just kidding. Dude, thanks for coming on. I'm just gonna stop recording, but
Thanks, man.
everybody
All right.
listening, give a 5-star rating. That will help. And the algorithm, actually, it won't. I'm like people like. Anyways, enjoy your
give
day.
5 stars.
Yeah, 5-star rating, all that stuff. And yeah, you guys have a good one. Peace.
Be sure to follow me on Instas and socials.
Oh yeah, good luck with that.
All right.
Peace.